You want to know a secret? So all the toy collection videos we've done with these guys, these aren't actually all of the toys that I own. I actually have a much bigger collection that I started before this one. In fact, let me just show you. Don't mind the messy table, but uh, this is my toy collection before this one. This is my full toy. This isn't even all of my toys. I have some unfinished ones here. I have some toys here, and then I have these guys. Some of these guys are paper, and then some of these guys. Then I have these rock guys who I gave faces. So as you can see, I have a lot of toys, a lot, and I have a massive toy collection. And right now, right now I'm kind of living away from my parents' house, and these aren't even every single toy that I own. There's some that are still left in my parents' house that I can bring here with me. But yeah, so these aren't even all of my toys. But yeah, I'm just gonna show you what I'm just gonna just kind of tell you the story of this big collection that I have. Just kind of tell you why I'm kind of like starting over. So let me show this collection, this big collection. I started this collection. Actually, I've been collecting toys for a while, but making toys. I started making my own toys and started getting material to make my own toys around, I'd say, 2014. Yeah, around 2014, I'd say. 2013, 2014, around that time. But yeah, let me just show you an example. All right. And okay. For example, this guy. So you see how this guy's kind of like all foamy and whatnot? Yeah, I used to use a material called foam clay. It's basically just foam and slime mixed together. And yeah, I got this material like around 2013, 2014, and I started making toys. Why I started making toys? For one, I've always loved toys, but also I had some. There's a YouTuber I used to watch called Super Mario Logan. He used to make videos with. He used to make videos with his Mario plushies. So once I realized those, and I didn't really have many Nintendo toys. I'm a big Nintendo fan. I didn't really have many Nintendo action figures. So once I saw this material, I was like, I could use this to make my own Nintendo toys. Like I don't have a Mario figurine. Like I don't have any like Nintendo themed toys. Like I could use this to make myself Mario toys and freaking all the toys of all the Nintendo characters I don't have. And so I got so once I got Foam Clay, I fell in love with it. Just the freedom, being able to make anything, any character. It really made up for it since I didn't have much Nintendo toys growing up. I just had random toys of whatever action figures I could get. Not much Nintendo. So I fell in love with this Foam Clay. So, and I've been using Foam Clay for a long, long time. And seeing this, my favorite YouTuber at the time, Super Mario Logan, he did a plush collection video, and he had a huge plush collection. And I remember seeing that, like, one day, I want a toy collection that big, bro. And I remember I used to contain these guys, bro. I used to contain them. Before, I used to keep all my toys in this. I don't have it anymore, but it was like a bucket. It was a bit bigger than this, but not quite. It was this small plastic kind of bucket. It was around this size, right? And that's pretty much where I used to keep all my toys. It just goes to show you how many toys I had. At least my small toys. I still have big toys that, of course, couldn't fit in it. But when it comes to my small miniature figurine toys, I pretty much kept all of them in there. Wait, I made a mistake. Sorry, so I kept my foam clay figurines in this small plastic bucket. And then my normal toys that like I bought from stores and stuff, I had this huge bucket where I kept them, but it wasn't filled up, so I didn't have many of them. It wasn't like the bucket that I kept them in was filled up. But yeah, that just goes to show you the container I was using. Then as I started making more and more toys, I upgraded to a sack, like a literal like bag, a literal like carry-on sack bag kind of thing. I upgraded to that, and I was using that for a while to contain these guys, since they're starting to fill up over that plastic bucket, and it just wasn't enough to hold them anymore. And from what I remember, I was using that sack for like the longest time.
That's my thing of stuff, items I use. That's the thing where I keep the silk clay guys, and this is the thing where I keep the foam clay guys.
Then so then this led into my teenage years, and in my teenage years, production of these guys kind of came to a halt as I started going to boarding school. Plus, in my teenage years, we kind of moved to a different country, and the material that I used to make these guys, we couldn't really get that in this country that we moved to, so it was getting harder to get the foam clay to make these guys. So production was getting a bit sparser, but I was still making toys and still getting like new action figures and figurines and whatnot. It was getting much slower. But during this time, I got this huge box. I put them all in. They didn't fill up the box like they're filling up this, but it was good. So I didn't really get a good measure for the collection, but all I know is at that time I wanted to really grow my collection. I wanted a big toy collection. Then sometime in 2020 during the quarantine, I decided to do a toy collection video just to see how many I had, and boy oh boy was I surprised. I so like at this point in 2020, I kind of, since I was in boarding school at the time, I couldn't bring all my toys with me to boarding school. I didn't lose interest, but I stopped counting, and that desire I had to want a really big toy collection, I kind of forgot about it. That wasn't really my focus now, so I kind of lost track of how many toys I was adding to my collection. I was still making these guys. It was at a slower rate, but I was still making them. I wasn't like counting anymore. I wasn't keeping track on how many or how big my collection was anymore around this time. So one day in 2020, during the quarantine, I had all my toys with me. I decided, you know what? Let me do a toy collection. And bro, to say it took a long time just to set them up is an understatement. My toy collection was big, like actually big. Like it took such a long time to set all those toys up, and it made me realize like, yo, like since like a few years ago, I always wanted this really big toy collection, just like my favorite YouTuber, Super Mario Logan. And at some point I kind of stopped counting. I stopped paying attention to how big my collection was, whereas before I used to always pay attention. Okay, how big is my collection now? How big is my collection now? At some point I just stopped, and then I realized like, yo, this big toy collection that I've always wanted, I finally have it. Like, this has taken a long time. These are a lot of toys. And it just made me realize like, wow, that big toy collection I wanted, I finally have it, you know? And I don't know, it just felt really weird for me. My dream of wanting this really big toy collection, I had it, but I didn't really feel anything. I guess it was growing so steadily, and I just stopped paying attention. I didn't notice just how big it was getting. I was like, wow, I was feeling kind of, I don't know, I was feeling proud of myself, but also I just wasn't feeling anything. Just like, cool. I wasn't as excited as I thought I would be. I don't really know what else to say about it, but yeah, man. The big toy collection that I wanted when I was like a preteen, well, I have it now. So, onto what made me want to start over. So, as you can see with the foam clay, while I love it, how the figures you make with it, they're movable and stuff, and it's not brittle, I did notice that they were flimsy, and they were I wouldn't say fragile, but they were to an extent fragile, and they were flimsy. Like freaking this guy's other nostril has already fallen off, like, so I did notice that. And so at some point I was like, okay, but I can't use foam clay forever. Like, now I want to start making toys that are flexible like foam clay, and not brittle like foam clay, but also but more durable than foam clay, you know. And I was trying hard. I tried blue tack, but I couldn't find a way to. Blue tack is sticky tack, by the way, whatever you want to call it. But I couldn't find a way to permanently harden sticky tack or blue tack. And I just kept trying. What else? What material is there that I can use that's not brittle? So like it won't be. It'll still be movable, and if I drop it, it's not gonna break. But also it's more durable and it's not as like flimsy and fragile as foam clay. And then one day I came across something. This. It's called green stuff putty or Kneadatite putty. This is the stuff I found, and when I started reading on it, I started to realize this is perfect. So, why did I choose green stuff? I'm calling it green stuff because that's what you normally just call it, since you have to mix the yellow and the blue together, and it makes green. So we call it green stuff. So green stuff. First of all, green stuff, you can control how brittle it is. Basically, with this, the more yellow you mix the two together, right? The more yellow, if you want it to be like flexible, you need to add more yellow. If you want it to be more brittle and harder, you need to add more blue. Or if you just want it to be neutral, just mix them in equal sections and then mix them together. Like for example, this guy, I want his arms to be flexible, so his arms are a lighter shade of green because I added more yellow because I wanted them to be more flexible, and you get the gist. Also, something I learned about green stuff when reading on it is it has a very rubbery texture. That was exactly what I was looking for. It's something that's still movable and stuff, but also it's not as flimsy as foam clay. You know, it's very durable, but it still maintains its flex, and it's not too brittle. Like, by the way, brittle, when something's brittle, it means something that breaks easily. So, for example, if I was normal clay, anything you make with normal clay is brittle. If you were to drop something made of normal clay, it would break. Like something brittle is like something that easily breaks. Like if this guy's hands were brittle, I would simply just like do this, and his hands would probably snap. You know, so that's definitely not what I want, because I want something I want to play with, not something that can break easily. So that's why I chose green stuff, because it's flexible and it's more durable than foam clay. And it's flexible. Now, the only downside is color. Foam clay has more color. Green stuff only has one color. But at this point, I don't really mind. The color doesn't really bother me, to be honest. Besides, you can use different shades of green, but the color doesn't really bother me, to be honest, right now. But yeah, that is why I chose green stuff. It's like foam clay, where the figurines you make, they have a flex, and they're not brittle. But this is more durable than foam clay. And I want to make toys that I don't have to worry about breaking when I put them in my pocket. Now with these, I've not dealt with any of these guys breaking at all. Maybe a few, but it's not as bad as in this. Foam clay is a lot more fragile. These guys are not so much. And my goal is to eventually find a material where I can make toys where I don't have to worry at all about them breaking or anything like that. That's my goal here. So green stuff isn't quite the end goal. I'm still gonna eventually search for a material I can use to make toys where I don't ever have to worry about it breaking. Like you won't break it unless you were to really try. That's what I'm going for. But green stuff, I've been using foam clay for years, since like 2013, 2014, bro. And it's about time I retired it. And I'm happy to retire it here. In fact, I might make a video on foam clay in the future about my experience with it and stuff like that. I probably will. And right now, my step in toy making, I've upgraded from foam clay to green stuff. And eventually, hopefully, I find an even better material for what I'm looking for, better than green stuff. And I just can't wait. And the reason why I started a new collection is, while yes, this collection is cool, most of them consist of foam clay figurines, and many of them are starting to break. And it made me realize, I have a big toy collection, but like many of them are like broken, or many of them are like fragile and frail. I just I wasn't very happy about that, having a big toy collection. But most of the toys in there are like broken at some area where just their arm has fallen off or something like that. So it's like, let me start a new toy collection. And don't worry, soon I'm probably gonna add these guys to them eventually. They're all my toys, so they're all part of the same collection. And this is kind of a start over. I'll probably eventually add to this. Because I don't like how most of the toys in this are kind of like easily breakable, at least when it comes to the ones I've made, not the ones I got from stores and stuff. I don't like how they're like frail and fragile. Like, I want a toy collection of toys that are more durable, like green stuff. So yeah, that's the video. And I probably will do a video just showing the contents of this, showing my entire toy collection. Probably will. But yeah, that's it. That's the video. It's been fun talking about this. I don't know what I'm going to title this video, but yeah, thanks for watching and stay tuned for other videos on this stuff.